I can't say good morning because it is about 4:30 in the evening and the sun is in the process of setting in the valley. Really good time to start a video. Genuinely the first chance I've had with the weather for some time to do this. It's not quite high force. If you want that kind of video, you're going to have to go to Ian for now, and I would recommend that to everyone anyway because what a fantastic channel. But hi, welcome to Victoria Park, one of my most common litter picking spots that I never film, and I usually do at night. Often it rains hard in the day and then in the evenings I can come out here, but I wanted to give you a big update. And there is going to be a lot of litter picking in this video, but you'll soon see why it's being filmed and edited this way. First of all, this is a new camera. This is the DJI Action. This was very, very kindly funded by a donation from a single person. So a huge thank you to Kit, without whom this wouldn't be possible. This was back in November. At the end of October, our driveway started collapsing, and every day where the weather was good, basically any weather that would have been litter picking weather was driveway restoration weather, and I obviously had to do that in the day while it was light and while it was not raining. A lot of time was spent digging and a lot of time was spent carrying rubble up the drive and bagging it, and we've moved 6 or 7 tons I think so far. It's weird enough litter picking here at night. It would be weirder with a chest camera and me talking to myself, and from afar you can't even tell I'm talking to a camera, so extra weird, and we try not to attract too much unwanted attention. Why am I filming this introduction and not a regular litter pick? Wow, I did film a litter pick a couple of days ago, so you should be seeing on your screen currently the footage that I recorded, and I have cut out all of the horrible bits. I will leave in a bit now so you can see what it looks like. That is the quality of the footage that we were getting from this camera because of the dodgy memory card, unfortunately. So I'm just going to narrate you through it. So we repeated the Goodrington Village Green area. I thought it would be a nice direct comparison, and it wasn't so bad. Thanks to the winter, obviously everything has died back plant wise, and thanks to the council, some of the bigger bits have been cut back too. So it was a lot easier to get in, but that also meant finding a lot of stuff that we wouldn't have otherwise. So the first section on the corner was really nice, and other than a big compost bag, which always seems to be a bag of garden waste here, this big compost bag that went in the hoop, and got my bag very dirty. So we did this little area, found an abandoned bin. We had some really stormy, windy days, so there was a bin that must have been blown down the street that was broken. It had been left on the corner and people were throwing rubbish in it, so we cleared that away and headed down the path. All of the bushes and overgrowth here were cut back compared to the first time we were here. A lot safer to get down there and not so much risk of cars hitting us. We went down to the bottom where it had been really overgrown, to reveal the pond, which had been sort of cut back and dredged. All of the growth around this pond had been cut away, and they'd actually cut a layer of dirt out so that the water could run back into the pond rather than flooding the road there, which was really good. Unfortunately, a lot of rubbish exposed. I don't know how much of the footage here is usable, but we had to abandon picking it because it was very deep mud around the edges, so I've got to go back with wellies or maybe waders again. I'd actually really like to explore. There's a little tunnel, you can see a little hole in the wall, and I'd love to go underneath that and try and pick the other side at some point, but we'll see. I'm not sure how possible that will be. Anyway, so we got to the pond and then kind of came back up to the path. So the path before, you might remember the first video here, I actually paused the video while I crawled on my hands and knees and pulled out like 12 bags of garden waste that had just been left in carrier bags and sort of thrown into the bushes here. Well, when we came up this time, it had all been cut back. Unfortunately, this is where the camera really started to struggle, so it's some of the worst recording, but hopefully you'll be able to see we're now up on that wall, and there was a pretty wide area, and unfortunately full of a lot of shredded rubbish. Obviously when they'd cut these bushes back, all of the cans and things had been shredded in there. We did find a few vapes which were fortunately not shredded. We found three vapes. All of them were rechargeable, not disposable ones. All of them rechargeable new vapes, and I have a feeling there might be more. We were stood on the cuttings, so I was stood on what was about a foot deep layer of plant cuttings from the council, and because it was wet they were kind of mulching down under my feet, so I might try and get up there again on a drier day and get on my hands and knees and sort of pick through it, because I'm sure there's rubbish underneath there. But yeah, we found 3 vapes, and it's fortunate that those weren't destroyed by the cutting, because they would have obviously burst into flames. So we avoided that, which is interrupting the story just briefly here to show you. This is the play park that we pick at night. We don't come here in the daytime, but this is the Geopark play area, which has a sand pit and some water things in, and a lot of rubbish ends up in there. So we often pick that. Definitely a big one in the summer holidays. Yeah, you can see there's literally a bottle right there. We'll grab that. So yeah, we picked around on that top area as much as I could, and just in this area my bag was completely full. Found a lot of glass bottles tucked in another section that were too far back to reach, and there's no way to climb up to them without climbing over a fence that was definitely going to collapse under my weight, so I couldn't get them all. But I think we've got footage of 4 more of the glass bottles coming out. We bagged up that bag, put it with my broken bin, ready to take it up to the bin when I finished the area, and continued along the path. The rest of the footage gets darker anyway. So yeah, we went through the rest of the park. The path wasn't too bad. There are a few things. Unfortunately, there was a very saturated nappy. Yeah, we cleared that area, went into the main park, found a few of these bottles that had the bottoms cut off. I'm pretty sure that people are cutting bottles up and using them as makeshift bongs in this area, and it's a little bit unfortunate. It was mostly clean, but behind a couple of the benches were, you know, a few of the cans of beer and some vape packets and these plastic bottles. As I was finishing this area, bearing in mind the sun was actively setting, a couple of young people came in. I think they had 2 pushchairs, so 2 babies or small children, and a bunch of teenagers to early 20-year-olds came in and started smoking and possibly drinking. I couldn't really see them too well. I didn't want to get too close to them, but it does make me think I know what the source of the rubbish is in that little spot, but maybe they would have been incentivized by seeing me cleaning up to look out for it themselves. Anyway, so we came back out, went down the lane on the other side of the green and tried to get some bits, and not too bad down there that I could see. Then crossed out the road, got some stuff off the street, and one of the things that I noticed was a drain that was almost fully blocked. It only had about 1 inch of opening in it, and what looked like a ream of paper had been shoved into it, and it was all being held up by layers of plastic at the bottom, and then just clumps of soaking wet saturated paper that I had to mostly pull out by hand to clear this drain. It was not a fun experience. A little bit of the verge, again an area that I didn't even pick in the first video because the plants were growing so far into the road it was just unsafe. Following that corner we went through the community orchard. A tiny bit of rubbish in here, which is a shame because the community orchard is a lovely thing for everyone. Back up onto the road, came down along the alley. So this is further than the original video ever got because the battery died on my old camera before we got there. Yeah, into this last little lane, which is at the top above the green and is the other road access to the meet the lane that we came from below. A little bit of rubbish here where it's been shoved into the bushes, and that was it. Then we picked the area in the bin, headed back down the road to where I'd left the original bag and bin, and took those back with me. And then that was pretty much the full thing. So yeah, hopefully that satisfied a little bit of your litter picking desires. While you're watching this video, I have already uploaded to Facebook a video in which I assemble a waterhole litter picker from scratch. So I decided it would be a good idea to order every single piece of this litter picker and try to build my own. Now, over on their website there are lots of little tutorials for each individual piece if you ever need to replace them, which makes it super simple and easy. This was to celebrate the launch of Waterhall's litter picking spares shop. Every single piece of the waterhole picker is replaceable now. And make sure you line up the hole of the handle and the trigger. You might need to wiggle it a little bit as you go in. And there we are. Just see it on the other side there. Never going to focus on this, but there's the screw and the washer, which are meeting the rivet. And we're just going to go our flathead screwdriver. There we are. It saves you money and it saves the environment, which is what we're all about, right? The thing that I want to do before the end of May is make Torbay as good a holiday destination as possible. But me focusing on the areas that will more positively impact tourists is still a huge benefit to locals. Here's the thing. In 2025 we cleaned up over 100 pieces of graffiti on bus stops, bins and signposts. We also cleaned a bunch of signposts and restored a few street names to readable levels. And we picked up a lot of rubbish. You know, those areas still have litter. We go back to them and they get littered. Some of them haven't got as bad ever since, but people are still littering. Some of the graffiti has come back, but not all of it. There are some areas that haven't been graffitied at all. Literally on this walk tonight, I went past a bin I've cleaned and seen that someone sprinkled birdseed on it because it's now so nice looking that they thought that was a good thing to do. And those street signs we've restored, well, they've survived the winter. All of the heavy rain and storms, and none of them look any worse for wear. So we're making more permanent or long-term impacts, and that's a big goal for me. Litter picking frequently makes a very quick and easy impact, and it's something we need to keep on doing, and I have no intention to stop. But I want to go further. I want to do things that make the whole area feel better, make the people that live here, work here, visit here on holiday, see something nicer. And I think it's doable. I want to thank you for watching if you've got this far, and apologise for the fact that you're watching this video this way. I wanted to test the camera a little bit more to make sure the memory card is working, and we did do a litter pick, and I don't want to just delete all that footage, so I've cut around it. So thank you for watching, and I'm looking forward to being back. I want to say a big thank you to Ian Absolute Garbage because he gave us a shout out. And that did lead to a few new subscribers, I know, because it was during a time I wasn't even posting videos. So if you are watching this video now and you came from Ian's shout out originally, then let me know in the comments, that'd be lovely. I'm going to wrap up here now and try and warm my hands up, and then maybe in the next video we'll be doing some signpost cleaning. I want to use those Edding pens. If I don't film them for a video, I will definitely be putting a post on Facebook up talking about them, because I am really grateful to them for sending me out those freebies. Yeah, so hopefully I'll see you in the next video. It won't be 3 months away, I promise. And I hope you've all had a lovely Christmas and New Year, because here we are, 2026. Yikes. Anyway, bye.